This is Latinx Heritage Month. My name is Reginald Constant. Good afternoon. I'm just going to read a little description. On behalf of Laney College Ethnic Studies Department, Social Justice Center, associated students of Laney College, Latinx Center, and Laney Library, we'd like everyone to take part in our Latinx History Month activities. We have an exciting lineup of speakers, book readings, film screenings, and community celebrations. Today, Laney Library will host two charismatic, engaging Bay Area authors, novelist Ananda Esteva and poet Josiah Luis Alderete. Okay, I pronounced it right. We'll read excerpts from the recent work. Let me give you a brief bio of each author. Ananda Esteva is a middle school teacher in the San Francisco Bay Area. Her novel, The Wanderings of Chela, I can pronounce this right, okay, Coatlicue. Okay, it's about a brazen musical prodigy who goes on an odyssey from punk rock slums of Mexico City to suburban Los Angeles. Recently, Esteva taught poetry with the Bay Area Institute of Urban Arts, digital underground storytelling, June Jordan's Poetry for the People, and Writers Workshop. Josiah Luis Alderete has been featured at numerous mission literary events, including MAPP, Voz Sin Tinta, Dulce Poets, Acion Latina's Paséo de Arte, as well as San Francisco's Poet Laureate Kim Schuck's series honoring Mission District poets. He has also been featured reader in the East Bay at Lyrics and Dirges, Nomadic Press First Fridays, as well as BAMPFA's Friday night reading series. Josiah curates the Latinx reading series Speaking, Axolotl in Oakland. So many X's, so many T's, so many L's. Every third Thursday of the month at Nomadic Press Studios Uptown. Please attend. What we'll have is each author will read excerpts of their books, whichever order they want to, and then we'll have a Q&A. Should be fun, should be engaging. I'll shut up now, and I'll have Ananda read.
Is that too tall? Sorry. Maybe I should just be my normal self, I guess. All right, so we're going to go each read 3 poems, and then I'm going to read from my novel. And so the first poem is from this book, Pisco Sours. And it's about growing up in the Bay Area, but hankering for a sense of one's mother country. In my case, it's Chile. And the friend that I was walking with, hers was Honduras. It's called Eating Corn with Claudia. Sometimes magical realism is our reality, so watch out, your mind might get bent. All right. Eating corn with Claudia, walking to the Oaktown corner store. We're trying to snatch us some smokes, trying to get us somewhere. Yeah, when our chit-chat kept growing like pole beans at dusk, grown so big we block out the city up to the moon, and lampposts sprout leaves, and roads relax to red earth, and curbs turn to fields, waving in the breeze. Yeah, we might gnaw our corn to the bone, but it still glow plump and yellow between the tips of our fingers. And for a moment, the scent of Chile and Honduras lingers in our noses. Oaktown turns to our town when I'm eating corn with Claudia. Oaktown turns to our town, and for once, we feel full. Thank you.
Hola. I don't need this. I'm not that. Hi, everybody. You know what's I learned to write. My name is Josiah Luis Alderete. I'm a Spanglish poet, born here in La Bahia. But I learned to write poetry growing up in my ma's kitchen of her Mexican restaurant. That's where I learned. And that's kind of my schooling when I grow up. And when I got to a certain age, I opened up my own taco shop. It was kind of crazy. You know, that's like what an inmigrante does, right? You know, you learn your familia's trade, and then you build on that. So, but so I had this taco shop, and it was in a very white part of the Bay Area. So I get a lot of questions that were well-meaning questions, I guess, but they were still kind of peculiar, you know. So well-meaning customers, you know. So what are you gonna do, right? You don't get mad at your customers. You just kind of deal with them. They ask you what part of Mexico Antonio Banderas is from, or you know, if you can eat the sugar skulls off the altar, that kind of thing. You don't want to get a bad Yelp review. So what I started doing, I started writing a poem every time I got a little frustrated. I had a big piece of plywood in front of my taco shop, and anytime a well-meaning white person would come in and ask a question like that, rather than get really upset or something, I would go outside and write a line or two. And I had the shop for 22 years, and when I got evicted, I had this big-ass poem on the wall of plywood, and this is the poem. So I'd like to read it to y'all now. On this side of the border, under this quinto sol, during these modern times, I want to be a symbol for my culture. I want to wrap myself up in a colorful poncho, tilt an oversized sombrero over my eyes, lean up against the nearest prawn cactus I see, and I want to take an afternoon cultural siesta the hell away from all of you people. I want to be a symbol for my culture. I want to round up all the talking chihuahuas out there in TV land, take them back to my place and feed them helping after helping of Taco Bell. I want to take care of your kids and secretly teach them Spanglish. I want to tell you the wrong thing when you ask me what this song is about. I want to give away the endings to all the telenovelas around here. I want to be a symbol for my culture. I want to wear mi Nacho Libre wrestling mask, Che Guevara t-shirt, and Zapatista ski cap all at the same time. I want to continue to appear in sitcoms as the Latino whose thing is to always walk away mumbling Spanish gibberish to the delight of the all-white laugh track. I want to start a Frida Kahlo unibrow trend right over there in Marin County, so that all them San Anselmo yoga moms going into their green beauty salons for their weekly Brazilian bikini wax are instead going to come out with their eyebrows patched. Yeah, I want to be a symbol for my culture. And at this point, I want to personally thank Al Pacino's Puerto Rican and Cuban accents for all they've done for us. I want to finally see the remake of Home Alone starring Elian Gonzalez and shot entirely on location in Cuba. I want to continue to mispronounce my own hand-me-down language so that it's easier for everyone else around here to understand what places I'm talking about when I say Terra Linda, Santa Rosa, Tiburon, El Cerrito del Norte. I want to put a stop to the rumors that in the 90s, narcotraficantes were smuggling heroin into America inside of J-Lo's ass right under our noses. I want to be a symbol for my culture. I want to be the Mexicano who breaks open the Donald Trump piñata just to prove his point about Latinos being violent and dangerous. I want to be the sugar skull with Andy Lopez's name on it. I want to be the sugar skull with Alex Nieto's name on it. I want to be the sugar skull with Claudia's name on it. I want to ask La Llorona why America doesn't put her niños and niñas' faces on the sides of milk cartons or Have You Seen Me billboards. I want to be a symbol for my culture. I want to teach white people how to use a leaf blower in Spanish. I want to be the coyote that people hire to take them back to their childhood. I want to start a support group for people out in West Oakland who have seen the chupacabra. I want to be the dishwasher who finds the bones of the Ayotzinapa teachers in the one place where nobody thought to look. I want to be a symbol for my culture. And to be honest, I do want to steal your jobs. I do want to use up all your medical benefits. I do want to move into your neighborhoods and corrupt your daughters. Let's be honest, who wouldn't? I want you to tell me that I look like Carlos Santana one more time. I want to be a symbol for my culture. I want to sneak out in the middle of the night and move the border 2 feet to the left. I want to dip the English language in champorado when I chew it. I want to continue to wait for Quetzalcoatl to arrive in North Richmond. I want to keep cradling the Inmigrantes American dream like it's a fussy sleeping baby. I want to be that Yucateco rolling sushi. I want to be that Norteño making pizza. I want to be that Salvadoreño blowing leaves off a lawn in Tiburon. I want to be that niña from Guatemala who did manage to make it all the way here without getting shot in the head. I want to be that 19-year-old Chilanga who's a nanny with the 2 tow-headed babies in tow looking in the windows of those Mill Valley boutiques she's never going to go to. I want to be that Mexicano with a red smock and cap looking like a disciple of Huitzlopochtli as he washes cars at the gas station on 2nd Street. I want to be the Chicano who opens up a taco shop in Fairfax and names all the burritos after famous Mexicanos. Yeah, I want to be a symbol for my culture.
Okay, I really felt transported. So here's another short poem. This is dedicated to my dad. He has heard this. It's called When Latinos Go Buddhist. And anywho, my father decided to denounce the chastising laws of Catholicism and embrace Buddhism. Now, in order to keep me on the path of awareness, he would say, "What's your problem, Ananda? You're so spaced out. You need to be here, present. Take control of your mind, or others will. It's here." He even came up with his own terminology. You know, we should call you Dorpy, because you're always somewhere else dorping around. Don't be tonta. Listen to me. Point your ears to this reality. I caught you drifting off, Ananda. Wake up. Dorpy. I was a child so used to following orders, I could not say or even make the words that I spaced out to escape him. Thank you.
So I don't know how many people remember. A lot of my poetry is created as a form of, I guess, a statement saying how our cultura is still here, despite what so many other colonizers try to do to us. We're still here, and we have to fight this on a daily basis in numerous tiny ways, you know. And language for me is sort of a preoccupation with that, and it never ceases to amaze me how bent our own language becomes when it travels over here, you know, and in order to sort of appease other people. But so I don't know how many of you guys remember, because so much crap happens so much these days. But a few months ago, there was a Latina newscaster named Claudia who she was a newscaster from Texas who was reporting on a traffic incident in El Paso. So she was reporting on a traffic incident in El Paso, and like any Latina, she said the name like you're supposed to, you know, El Paso. And she got so much shit for it people lost their minds. So this poem is very respectfully dedicated to her. For Claudia Tristan, the Latina newscaster who pronounced it El Paso instead of El Paso. Cuando the Latina newscaster reported on a traffic jam happening in Texas last week, when she went and pronounced the name of the town where the traffic jam was occurring exactly the way you would expect a Latina to pronounce it, El Paso, well, there was maybe a 5-second delay at the most before people began to lose their pinche Facebook hive minds. Online mobs started gathering out there in Donaldo's Gringolandia over what was just heard, El Paso. There was anger. There was genuine outrage that she would pronounce that word in such a way. Doors were locked, guns were cocked, the border was rechecked, and the old phrase, "Remember the Alamo," started getting repeated in Texas again, while claims like the following were made. That Latina newscaster is using an unauthorized accent that could poison the water supply, El Paso. She was mispronouncing the name of the city in order to undermine the church. She was mispronouncing the name of the city in order to sexually entice the youth around here, El Paso. There were claims that her pronunciation got a lot of the old folks lost around here for a good while. It may have caused some people's pets to run away. It may have led to some of the white children around here saying gracias to the ice cream man and thank you to the paleta man by mistake. El Paso. Her pronunciation was believed by some to be an encrypted message that somehow allowed them hordes of invading immigrants to navigate the border. El Paso. That Latina newscaster's pronunciation was said to be exaggerated, disrespectful. It was the wrong time in America to be pronouncing words like that, El Paso. You know, some people actually said, and I quote, "Doesn't she know those are American words that she's using? El Paso." Her pronunciation may have caused a strange rain to fall on the town for days and days. It was further claimed that when she pronounced it that way, the prices of avocados skyrocketed. Donaldo Trump piñatas bled, and then pictures of those blue-eyed Jesuses would not hang straight. El Paso. The Council of Catholic and Concerned Citizens that was formed in the part of town where it's still pronounced El Paso brought up the idea of baptizing the entire town and to further mispronounce all the words in Spanish that the people around here have been mispronouncing for years in an effort to somehow balance out Claudia Tristan's pronunciation and the cultural damage it may cause. And it continued like that, well into the night and into the next days. The monolingual hive mind continued to cringe and make vague threats about the culture being tainted. You could see them online, still making them comments. While meanwhile, over here on este lado, Claudia Tristan, the Latina newscaster, she continued to newscast in Latina. She continued to hold on to her pronunciations with both her brown hands and her bilingual voz. Continued to look straight into the camera when she said it. And all of us over here, we understood her perfectly. El Paso.
So this next poem, this will be my last poem before I start reading from the novel. This next poem is about a relative of mine who was a fighter for indigenous rights in South America. And he had a lot of scars on his body because he's literally a fighter, not just protests, but getting shot at and the whole nine. And getting caught, and he had scars from that too. But this one is relates to one of the scars I noticed when he was in battle. It's called butterfly skin. I see the green-blue jailhouse tattoo on your forearm, a butterfly bathing in a deep, inky pool, bleeding into your yellow skin. I remember you told me your butterfly, she sits on a scar from their bullet, a snag in the smooth golden plane of your arms, raised and twisted, lifting her left wing a bit, blurring her blue design. You notice my stare, and you point to her. You chuckle and grin. La mariposa, la transformación. Remember this, you said. It didn't matter how much they tortured me. Couldn't kill my spirit, fly high above them. The butterfly, she changes the pain that touches you beyond your breath, that kidnaps you and searches you with hot electric wires, that turns your insides out. The butterfly, she changes all that hurt into the power to heal, into the power to laugh. They can't take away my laughter. No pueden quitarme la risa. Thank you.
It's going to be my last poem. And then Ananda is going to read from her novel, so everybody should stick around for this. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with her work, but this book is something that, you know, it's so hard growing up Latino and finding images that we can relate to in literature. I mean, for me, it was very difficult growing up in the 70s. And I just wish a book like this was around when I was growing up. It's a wonderful, amazing story, Ananda, it really is. So, yeah, definitely check it out. Stick around for her reading, absolutely. So, another true story, a lot of these poems I read for you were actually happened. But I guess in the November issue of El Tecolote community newspaper, are any of you familiar with that newspaper? It's a volunteer-run newspaper out of the Mission. It's amazing. It's an amazing paper, but it's on 24th Street and all volunteer, and a lot of poets have written for it over the years. But in the November issue after the election, there was an article about the Donald Trump piñatas that you all love to bang on. I don't know how many of you knew this, but apparently after the election happened, the Mexicanos bringing in the Donald Trump piñatas from Mexico started getting stopped at the border. They were not being let in. The Trump piñatas were being stopped and were not being let in. You could check if you think I'm messing with y'all, but it's true. November issue of El Tecolote has a great article on it. So you know what the Mexicanos did, because you know we got to make a living, right? They started putting little fake bigotes and beards, little fake mustaches and beards on the Donald Trump piñatas, and taking them to the border. And in the space, in the description where it tells you what it is that you're carrying, rather than put Donald Trump piñatas, they would put Southern Preacher. And he got right in. And then when they got here, they take the bigote and the beard off, and there he was, you know. So the white man's got to do to get into the border these days, you see. But you heard it here first, so that's it right there. So this was inspired by him. Pinche piñata. I will admit it, pinche piñata. I find a peculiar pleasure in the fact that you are being stopped at the border and some customs official is going to have his probing hand up your candy hole. Yeah. And the idea that you must wear a disguise to enter this brown country because of the symbol of what you are, because of your name brand, is something else that I will admit also gives me a peculiar pleasure. Donaldo. You gotta cross La Frontera wearing a fake blonde beard and mustache, which apparently seems to be fooling the piñata policía into thinking you were in fact nothing more than a simple southern preacher, returning home after visiting the land of the heathen Indios. Donaldo. Preacher man is not a term I would have used to describe you, but that was before the election. For now I've seen you in your prophecies screamed from your pulpit. For now I have seen you above me swinging. I've seen you and your papel disciples out there riding BART trains, screaming at the woman with her head covered. I've seen you above us swinging, Donaldo. I've seen you and your papel disciples swinging fists and bats at the peaceful demonstrators at Martin Luther King Park in Berkeley, Donaldo. I've seen you swinging in my own neighborhoods. Swinging in our backyards where we grill carne asada. Swinging from the rafters of Casa Lucas when I went in to buy mis nopalitos and piloncillo this morning. Swinging in front of the tiendas in the Fruitvale. What's the biggest Donaldo you could possibly imagine? Picture it now. Swinging above us. Swinging above us at every quinceañera, backyard barbecue, and East Oakland warehouse party around here. How soon, or has it already happened, until we start hearing rumors about one of those pinche piñatas speaking or shedding actual tears like those milagrosos statues of Tonatzin? I can see it all now. The local, monolingual, mulleted militia will swing it from a rope in some strip mall parking lot, and they'll gather every morning and wait for it to speak to them. Because for a lot of people, this is the piñata that they've been waiting for. They believe he's the real thing. They believe he came from humble beginnings. He made that journey that every imigrante makes in order to get here, and now he swings and swings above us on a wire, while some blindfolded mocoso tries to hit him with a stick, and the rest of us stand around and wait for his candy to drop. But the truth is, I want to hit you, Donaldo. I want to hit you. And I don't want to wait in line with the niños, Donaldo. I want to hit you right now, Donaldo. I want this to last, Donaldo. I want to hit you in the knees and elbows and hear the cardboard crunch. I want to hit your orange head and see some of the papel fly off like droplets of tainted orange blood, Donaldo. I want to hit you in the panza and hear the candy groan and slosh around in there. I'm not going to wear a blindfold over mis ojos or mi boca as the niños around me start to scream, some of them going rabid in anticipation. My swinging stick bursts into flames. It bursts into flames and tears right into him like an Azteca's macuitli. And this disgusting, smelly pile drops out of him. Stinking, hitting the ground. Not one niño jumps into that pile. It's the complete opposite of every piñata exploding scene that you've ever seen. Not one niño jumps into that pile. They're all frozen. Little mouths open in horror as they watch the stench and the smoke. And when it all starts to finally clear, we can see what we already knew about the insides of America. There's no candies here. There's nothing sweet. Absolutamente nothing sweet. No sueños rubber banded to a $20 bill put in there by my drunk Tio Tony. We all see what we already knew. Some of the niños start to cry. Still, nobody touches anything. And you know, that Donaldo head is still up there swinging from that wire, severed from the body. That head's slowly twisting. And it's looking off into the distancia where it knows that another truckload of those piñatas just made it across the border and they're peeling off their disguises and heading towards Califaztlán right now. Pinche piñata.
Well, that's so funny because last year my daughter, she turned 8 and we had a Trump piñata. It was her idea. It was a zombie themed party, but she wanted the Trump piñata. And I went upstairs to get something because I was the host and, you're always running around. I come back and there's all these kids screaming out, "Kill Donald Trump." Somebody was videoing it, but it's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's only on Snapchat." I'm like, okay. I was like, yeah. So now we should Google that. Maybe it's out there somewhere in cyberspace. But it was crazy. It was like Lord of the Flies. The kids were going bonkers. I wasn't expecting that. They were very passionate. Yeah. Anyway, so I wrote this book. It's out by a small local press called Transgress Press, and this is the Wanderings of Chela Coatlicue. It's the first in a series, touring Califaztlán. And I have it here also for sale. It's $18 in the stores, but here only $15, or you could get my poetry chapbook and that for $20. Anyway, this is about a young woman who ends up going on this crazy adventure. And so I'm gonna start it and just read you little pieces and then kind of help you fill it in. The first is a quote from Sojourner Truth. "I'm not going to die, I'm going home like a shooting star." Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is written in the second person, so it's you. A bit about you. Your full name is Chela Coatlicue Alvarez Santis, but people call you Chela for short. Ditching Chavela is fine by you. It's too long and has too many connotations. As it is, you aren't the most feminine 21-year-old running the streets of Mexico City, and rumor has it that your gay uncle named you after Chavela Vargas, the Costa Rican lesbian singing corridos about women lost and conquered in a voice that shakes the tightest chests into tender sobbing. It doesn't help that your cousin Vanessa, straight up from the ranchos de Jalisco, has to comment daily, "Why don't you do something with your hair, Chavela? And can't you wear makeup like a normal girl?" She's always acting like there's something wrong with you since you're not all plucked and painted like her. She has no clue about the music and the styles that you're into. She had to move in with you when the NAFTA came, forcing the family farm to close down. No more veggies and goats. Now they'll have to grow genetically altered soybeans, but they won't turn a profit for a couple of years. And since she can't live on soybeans alone, Vanessa moves into your room in your parents' flat in Tepito, in the heart of Mexico City. You suspect her parents are glad to get rid of her, because once she gets going, she won't shut up. It's not just about your looks. She's trying to dig out of you how you got kicked out of the most prestigious musical conservatory in Mexico. You know it. She's trying to get you to slip up and say something. You're itching to break out of that apartment. Now that she lives with you, you have to keep your instruments tied up to the ceiling, the guitarrón, the electric, and even the stand-up bass all hover above your bed. Hopefully there won't be another big earthquake anytime soon. Maybe the apartment would seem bigger if it wasn't for the way your mother looks at you now, like you shamed her, like you're dirty. She doesn't know what really happened. You wish she'd look at you the way she did before, with light in her eyes. Now, her eyes are flat, her gaze ajeno, like you're some stranger boarding in her home, paying by the week. When she's making dinner, you stand behind her, hoping that when she turns around, she'll look at you lovingly again. But all she gives you are those same flat eyes, and her food tastes flat too. But you go through the motions, chew, swish, swallow. That's basically been your life since you got kicked out of El Conservatorio, going through the motions, playing hardcore, thrash, hip-hop, and jazz with your whole soul is the only thing that helps you feel alive. That and sitting on rooftops with your best friend Pato and maybe doing some risky shit here and there, but mostly your life is flat as her eyes. So I'm gonna skip ahead. So Chela's life does not stay flat for long. This is an adventure book, so it gets fun and exciting. And she ends up going on tour with her band, Los Huérfanos del DF. And they end up going on this epic road trip through Mexico and into the US because she believes that this sacred object was stolen from her family, from her departed grandmother, whose death haunts her. And this object, this sacred object, is a stand-up bass by the name of the Perfumed Lady. The book goes all into the assorted love affair about that. And she feels that she has to get it back. She has to right wrongs, and she has to do right by her grandma. And so she ends up going on a road trip with the other 3 guys in her band. And we're gonna jump into that road trip. And then the thing I forgot to mention also is this book is a choose your own type adventure. So we're gonna go into a little piece where you, the audience, gets to make a choice. So that'll be hopefully fun. We'll see what choice you make. So I'm just gonna read a little section from the chapter On the Road Again. On the Road Once Again, and there's a quote from Audre Lorde. It says, "Your silence will not protect you." So you just had come from a quinceañera, which was very interesting and odd and surreal, and you're all hungover, basically. So your head hurts the next day, especially your eyes and the back of your neck. It's hard to hear Febby go on and on about how many autographs he's signed. Apparently, he's pretty well known. It's pretty well known that he played for Café Tacuba last spring. "What's the matter, Chela? You're so sad. You make an onion cry." Everyone chortles. You look out on the road. You head along the 15 toll road to the north. A sense of dread infiltrates your bloodstream like a too-strong live vaccine that someone pricked you with when you were sleeping. It's in you now. You don't know what to make of the rumors and the headlines, the gist that northern Mexico has become like the Chicago of the 30s or more like the Medellin of the 1980s. The cartels rule, and they've taken over local governments and sections of the Mexican military. Rumors even say that federal agencies from the United States have succumbed, maybe worse. Their bullying and fear tactics have people bending to accommodate their violent whims like trees in a hurricane. You're about to enter the territory of the Sinaloa cartel. The plan is to keep driving past the greater Culiacan area. The toll road should be safe enough, though your vehicle, well, it stands out with Los Huérfanos del DF logo spray painted on the doors. It's obvious you're not from there, but at least you don't look like you have any money. The sign reads, 16 kilometers to Culiacan. You're glad this highway skirts around the city and it's monitored by the federales. And then I go on and more about the narcos and the cartels. And then all of a sudden, you glance at the gas gauge, 3/4 full. Okay, you're cool. Thank God. You're at the outskirts of just west of Culiacan, and Pato's voice startles you. "Hey, Chela." "Yeah, I need to eat. Now." Nausea shoots through you. Could you have any worse timing? Your fists grip the steering wheel. Pato is a diabetic, and his food needs are real, and, well, Pato is the best friend you have. Okay, I'll pull over. I promise. You find your fingers going pale. The doctor said not to take better care of your hands. No more fighting, no heavy lifting. Not good for your dexterity, not at all. You take a deep breath and force yourself to turn off the highway. Before you know it, you've entered El Ejido, the San Jose de Guanajuato, Culiacan's half-assed suburb. Tacos. Everyone here eats tacos in northern Mexico. There's gotta be a quick place to eat. To the left, Charlie hollers. Too late. You're forced to go around the block. The next thing you know, you find yourself stuck in gridlock traffic. What's going on? To your left, you see a triangular modern cathedral flanked by 50 Carmelita nuns chanting and holding up signs. Nuns are your least favorite people. Okay, so, fuck, you scream. "Hey, Chela, get a hold of yourself," Fede says. "What are all these nuns doing here?" You see a pair of nuns holding a large hand-painted banners with life-size portraits of big-eyed saints and other important people. The banners are supported by sapling trunks stripped of their bark. You take note of some of the signs. Deuterónimo 5:17, "No matarás," and it goes on. So basically, these nuns are trying to stand up to the narcotraficantes, and they're the only ones willing to do it. There's this story about how a woman came to them. She was a girlfriend of one of the narcotraficantes, and she was fleeing for her life, and she comes to the nuns for shelter. And one nun in particular steps up to support her, and that nun ends up disappearing. And the nuns, unfortunately, end up receiving one of her body parts in a package. So instead of being more afraid and standing down, the nuns are fully charged and trying to fight against the narcos. So I'm gonna skip ahead to another section. So this is called Ice Cream Truck. And he's talking with one of the Mother Superior. She's trying to convince him to let them know where he's going and be more regulated. There's some doubt, some speculation that she might be working with the narcos too. All right, Federico, I think you should sketch out a map of where you're planning to go more or less each day. Give the sketch to me and me alone. Then make sure to call us every hour on the hour to know that you're all right. That way, if you fail to call, we will know where to go searching for you. Her eyes are big and commanding. Now, it's not up to me to judge the content of another soul, but these sort of fellows, well, words can't describe the means to which they are willing to avail themselves. Time and God's will, along with our coordination, may be the only things to save you if, God forbid, they were to apprehend you for the purposes of their evils. Fede looks shaken. You wonder if he hadn't considered that he may actually get nabbed by these bastards. Did he think his fame and pretty face would protect him? Your mind drifts to all of those gorgeous women who got nabbed coming home from work in the dark from the maquiladoras on the outskirts of Ciudad Juarez. All right, Mother Superior, have you got a pencil? You walk away as he scrawls out something. The scratching of the pencil echoes against the surrounding stone bodies. And so basically, he ends up calling regularly, except then the next day he doesn't call at the 3 p.m. time. And by 3:05, you're on duty as part of the search party. You ride into town along with Pato and two wide-shouldered nuns in a royal blue minivan with white lettering announcing their parochial allegiances. Great, way to lay low. At 2:45, he was supposed to stash the truck in the hiding place number 2, behind the foliage of this giant puffball tree. From the street, you can barely tell if it's there. The black tires are so thoroughly shaded and the rest is covered by foliage. You all approach with quiet steps. You duck under the lowest branches. Shit. There are shell casings at your feet. You freeze. Pato is standing 2 meters behind you. You cast your eyes over to the visible parts of the truck, and those are filled with holes. One of the nuns steps forward and runs her hand along the broken surface of the truck. She turns her head toward you. I will go inside if you like, sister. Your knees wobble and you hold them with your hands. You hear Pato gasping right behind you. So now, audience, you have the choice. All right, the nun wants to stand up for you and support you and be your ally. Do you go with the nun, or do you just do it yourself and go and check out what's happening and see if Betty could be dead inside that truck? So,
Trust the nun. No nun. Go the other way. The other way. The other way.
okay. All right, how many people go, if you want the nun to be your ally and support you in this? How many people want to do it yourself? All right.
Yourself.
Okay. Okay, this chapter is called You Step Up. No, thank you, sister. I think I should go in. I owe it to him, in a way. You won't be a coward this time. You take a deep breath and step to the door. It's completely closed, which seems odd. You think it would hang open like a tired tongue, what with all those bullet holes. You grip and turn the handle and rotate it down until it clicks. The sonic blast of white heat is the last thing you sense. Yes, this is a dead end.
God damn it.
She had to let herself have an ally to make it work.
Wait, so is the nun good?
This was a good nun, yeah.
Oh,
Why? Did you want me to read that part too? just let it go. What happened? What happened? All right. You can't go back in life, but you can in this book. So the nun steps up. Thank you, sister. You reach for Pato's hand and clamp down on it. His body sways like his middle were made of jelly. You start to look at the worn spots in your boots. Good news, there's no body and there's no blood. We should look for a ransom note, but so far it would appear that God has more plans for your friend Federico here on earth. You triple the search party to scope out different parts of town simultaneously. The local police make gestures as if they're helping search for the pseudo-celebrity out-of-towner. Fedi has become quite famous by now, the face behind the outrage and all of that. After a long day of hitting the pavement, you return to the religious campus in silence. You lie in your bed stiff wool blankets and cotton sheets, face down in a rather fibrous pillow. You fall asleep with the lights on. Later, you hear a click, and you're in total darkness. You hear a whisper, "Chela!" Your heart shoots out of the gate like a racehorse. And that's the end of that chapter. So that's my novel, or pieces of my novel. I guess we have more time. Do you want to read another poem, Miguel? Or you're all right? We could just. Do you guys want to hear what happens next, or should we just do Q&A? Let's do Q&A.
In your bio, you said you made the novel a choose your own adventure because of your dyslexia, right?
In part, yeah. So, I mean, back in my day, things weren't really diagnosed, but I did have a lot of difficulty reading. I was like one of the slowest readers in my class. In fact, when I was even younger, they put me and every black student except for one took us out of the regular class without doing any testing, just like, hey, okay, and we were given like non-academic classes in the attic of the school. And this is a Berkeley public school. And then we went on non-academic field trips, like to the post office. And my mom tells me that she remembers me saying that they said, well, you know, if you work really hard, you could work here one day. So we went to the post office as a field trip. And then my parents managed to get a scholarship into like a kind of hippie private school. My dad taught art classes there, like as an exchange for my scholarship. But in that class, I could see that all the kids were much faster readers than I was, and I was really like embarrassed because we'd all be kind of reading a book, and everybody would be like, you know, at the end, and I would be at the other end, the beginning end. And so what I started doing was covering my books with paper and then turning them upside down. And then I learned to read upside down so that it wouldn't be obvious that I was at the beginning, not the end. And then I discovered the Choose Your Own Adventure type book. And then by then, because a lot of them you go forward, you actually go back. Nobody really know how many pages you actually read. So that was like a sanctuary for me. So then when I had the stress gone of, oh my God, everyone knows I'm a slow reader stress, when that was able to go away, I was actually able to improve and get better at reading. So, yeah.
How does your experience of, you know, being tracked or being stigmatized as a student, how does that inform the way that you teach?
Yeah, well, see, I've luckily been able to work. First, I was an elementary school teacher, and I was luckily able to work at elementary schools where we had a really good curriculum for reading, and then I would add to that and really try to get kids juiced on books. And so I actually saw kids that were some severely, you know, dyslexic who actually became at grade level. So it was really like a nice thing to be able to see and be a part of that journey with them. And then now as like a middle school teacher, I've been able to use some of those same techniques and help some students also. I also just I do share aspects of my story, like, look, you can do it too, you can go to college. I mean, I went to UC Berkeley, but I made it so that I only took like one class with a lot of reading because it was still hard for me to keep up, but just kind of balance my caseload, my study load. Yeah.
For you, Josiah. More of a comment than a question. The Mish. The mish.
The mish.
The mish.
The mission.
The mission. So we talk about, first thing you lose your space, and your first thing you lose, second thing you lose is your language. And I remember going to the mission maybe like a couple of months ago, and I was there for like a good hour. I did not hear a single lick of Spanish.
That's not crazy. That doesn't surprise me at all. Oh man, that's a horrible comment. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, well, it's not a one size fits all. That's the thing. So like a lot of elementary school teachers push the kids to read fast because in general, many students, if they read too slowly, then they forget what they were reading to begin with. But that's not everybody, and that certainly isn't me, and clearly that wasn't you either. And so I think that there's different ways that we take in the words through our brain, you know what I mean? And so some people are reading word by word, some people are reading line by line, and I think that it's just important to, I think the most important thing is that the book comes alive. So whether it's slow or fast, as long as it's alive and you can see the pictures in your mind, that's what actually helps promote people to continue to want to read. So, yeah.
So yeah, going back on that previous question, I just want to, what are your observations on, I guess the disappearance of the language, and is your poetry, an attempt to, keep it alive? Or?
Oh, well, my poetry is like the word Latinx is sort of a part of an evolution of our identity. I think my poetry is an evolution of our cultures, of our Latinidad, our Latinx identity. I don't preserve. It's weird because I'm a Spanglish speaker. I tell people that, So I'm not preserving the language, but I am keeping it here, And I think that my poetry sort of helps transform it and keep it going, keep pushing it forward in some way. But I think the Chicano poets and Latinx poets have to preserve our history and the facts and who we are, because other cultures won't do it. So, I mean, for the mission for me is a very special place. I mean, that's where I grew up, and that's where I spent so much of my time honing my poetry and things, So it hurts to hear you say what you said, but it's the truth, and it is it's difficult, but it's like it's just, we just have to stay there no matter what, But it's weird, even when they just a few years back when they finally declared 24th Street and the area around it a Latino heritage corridor, there was tremendous pushback from the community there, that they thought the new residents of the new mission thought it was going to be, naming it that would create an exclusionary element, which I just think is absurd. It's like, what are you talking about? This is the identity of this place. So no matter what, though, we're still going to be there, and the cultura is going to be there, and you can't take that away. And especially the mission is such a literary place too. I mean, Oscar Zeta Acosta wrote part of his books on Valencia Street. 24th Street was home to the Nicaraguan poets in the 80s, Alfonso Texador, all these people that it's so deep there. So no matter what they do to us, we're not going to go away. One more. Okay. Okay, well, speaking of the mission, we'll do a mission poem. How's that? This is a poem that is featured in an anthology that was just released called The City's Already Speaking, The Sounds of Calle 24. So it's a anthology that's out now, but dedicate this poem to the elote lady, not the tamale lady. I don't know how many of you people knew this, but she died recently, and we know that there's more than one tamale lady, but this was the tamale lady. Everyone sort of associated her with the mission and who she was. But speaking of, we were talking about Valencia Street earlier and how it's been so transformed, but one of the hardest things for me is walking down Valencia Street after the bars close, because all the abuelitas and all the tamale ladies and all the ladies that are making a living post up there because the bars flood out and they got their tamales out there. But then you see like all these kind of, I don't mean to be disrespectful, the .comers down there, taking pictures with the tamale ladies and the selfies, and you just see the look on these mamas' faces, and they're just just buy my tamales, and like, get going, but, you know, for every tamale lady that's out there in the mission, there's also an elote lady. Oh yeah, just on the other side, in the part of the mission where it's dark, the elote lady. The elote lady roams the streets of La Misión with elote ojos that see everything. Algunas veces she'll stop and feed you. Algunas veces she'll poke you through with a sharp elote stick and eat you con sal, mantequilla, chile, sangre, limón. That elote lady is fierce, man. She's got jaguars, quiet and waiting and hungry, tangled in the gray of her braids. And just like Baba Yaga and her hut on chicken legs, the elote lady always has her orange plastic cooler floating alongside her. People think that cooler is filled with champorrado or tamales or elotes. But that cooler is filled with body parts. Google bus riding ass cheeks. .com ears with a cell phone still attached, a leg with some skinny jeans still dangling off of it, and she'll smear it with sal, chile, mantequilla, sangre, limón. Most residents of the Nouveau Mission District have never seen the elote lady. Maybe one or two have heard rumors about her in the parts of Dolores Park donde the ghost elote still grows. But me, yeah, one night I seen her. I was coming up the BART station stairwell, and suddenly there she was, sitting on a pile of gnawed-on huesos and busted fixed-gear bikes right there in the middle of the BART station plaza. The midnight evangelistas, their speakers fritzed out. The Tecatos swallowed their dope balloons and ran screaming down Mission Street. The Cordoba mural in the back of El Farlito bled, and the paletas and everybody's sueños around here melted as I watched her mad dog in Las Estrellas right there on La 24 and Las Estrellas. They didn't look back. She had an India's bloody smile on her face, smeared with sal, mantequilla, mayonesa, sangre, limón. And when I walk home tonight, with La Luna looking down on me, I'm going to take some comfort in knowing that somewhere on Valencia Street, after the full-bearded mixologists call last call and the Ubers have all driven away, someone here in the cleaner, wider Mission District will see her. They thought they heard the jingling bells of a paletero cart around the corner of Guerrero. They thought the Mexican food app would tell them the location of the nearest tamale lady, but instead they'll look up and they'll see her, the elote lady, walking towards them on cracked, chanclad feet, wrapped in wrinkled walnut skin that's wrapped in a dead abuelita's house apron, ancient saggy nalgas flapping in the opening behind it, her orange cooler floating alongside her as she ignores the holy water in the honking cars, scaring to death whoever's looking out the windows as she taunts the esqueletos of old locos, the ghosts of old pachucos, and the way, way back dark gods with her simple, repeated declaration. Elotes, elotes, tengo elotes con sal, chile, mantequilla, mayonesa, sangre, limón. It's nice to know she's out there, it really is.